Theme Hospital is a game that just sounds unbelievably boring on paper. It's just hospital management. Why on earth would that be fun? There has to be thousands of other things you can manage that are more fun than a hospital. Like a city. All those people going about their lives. You got so many things to organize and fine-tune into the perfect town. And then when you're tired of it all, you can just destroy it with a robot. Yeah, maybe something more fun, like a theme park. Yes, perfectly organize the most filling theme park ever constructed, and then go on the rides yourself. Move it, child, I'm the park owner, and older than you. Yes, haha, quick, speed up, they're getting away. What, that's it, 1 lap? This park sucks. Maybe war management, yeah. The art of warfare needs to be carefully managed and orchestrated. Die, you capitalist pigs! Oh, damn, this is too real. Maybe something else. Dungeon management. What could possibly go wrong here? You play as the master of a dungeon and must manage your minions the only way they understand. By pimp slapping them, apparently. Anyway, maybe hospital management isn't that bad. Theme Hospital only sounds boring on paper, but the more you get into it, the more in-depth it gets. They called this the Bullfrog Designer Series because you literally design the hospital based on the empty frame each level provides. Oh, the things these walls will see. Forming rooms is pretty simple, with the early game providing you a really basic set of rooms to create, and on the surface this is straightforward. Everything is done with the mouse and you just drag and click. The game helper guy recommends making larger rooms to increase staff performance, as well as throwing in extra items, and whilst this guy cannot be trusted whatsoever, he is sometimes almost right. Larger rooms do increase staff performance. More items do not, because the basic goal is to get that patient through the door and out the door as quickly as possible. Kinda like a Formula 1 pit stop. Your psychological experiences that took decades to compact into a debilitating condition, well, get out the stopwatch, we can convince you that you aren't Elvis in under 10 seconds. More items in the room often just slow down the curing of the patients, as instead of just sitting down and talking to the patient, the psychiatrist will walk over to the bookshelf, pull out a book, skip to the spoilers, put the book back, and then waddle over to his chair, sit down, and then finally talk to the patient, curing them of their disease. Cut out the middleman, get rid of the bookshelf, save a few seconds and several lives. On the other hand, rooms that have machines in them need a fire extinguisher. I think. The machines in this game vary from the simple to the complex, and they all made out of nitroglycerin and react to an earthquake like your grandmother's china plates react to being thrown down the stairs. A fire extinguisher in these rooms may even save a patient's life, but more importantly, a doctor's life. Besides this, you can pretty much decorate rooms and corridors however you desire. Want to make a toilet that's just 200 cubicles and a single wash basin that's on the other end of the room? Sure, go ahead, you sicko. Hiring the correct staff for the job is yet another essential part of the game. You need good staff and need to keep them not sassy with you. There are doctors, nurses, handymen, and receptionists. The doctors are all divas, the nurses are usually really good, the handymen only complain when their knee-deep in patient wastes, and the receptionists are robots, crafted for the singular purpose of manning the reception desk. They never take breaks, never use the bathroom, or even blink, like they're fused to their reception desk. The doctors are of course the hardest to manage, with them having multiple skills from psychiatry to researcher and finally surgeon. More skills means they cost more money, and like all the other staff, they have a proficiency level, adorably displayed in the game as an abacus versus a computer. This is basically speed. Junior doctors are the abacuses. They are slow, make mistakes a lot, and faintly smell of cabbage. Then there's generic doctors who are the normal garden variety doctor, adequate speed and skill. These ones you can pick up at the corner shop. And then finally, the consultants, who are gods who decided to return to the mortal plane and treat us to their blinding speed and proficiency in all tasks. Consultants cost more but can pass on their speed and skill to other doctors via the training room. They are gold dust. The hiring process is a bit of a crapshoot, with the game giving you multiple options per month that slowly dwindle as these people are poached or give up saving lives to become game developers. I am not even joking, that is the #1 cause of doctors suddenly wanting to resign in this game. Keeping them happy is as simple as making a decent staff room, keeping the place heated, offering bonuses when they're unhappy, and just not forcing them to work too much. But some will just want to resign anyway. Sometimes they'll ask for a pay increase that's reasonable, but if they have you by the short and curlies, or they have a special skill that you need and can't find a replacement, some will literally ask for 300% their previous wage, and depending on your situation, you might even have to pay them. So we've spoken a lot about the staff, but let's talk about the patients. A sickening bunch for sure. As any preschooler can tell you, sick people are gross, and they do a lot of heinous things if you don't manage the hospital correctly. They will literally mass projectile vomit onto the floor everywhere, and then blame you for having a dirty hospital. They are of course ill, so we can let some of it go, but to look at this game properly you need to see them as large Elvis-shaped dollar signs. They are money that hasn't had the fortune of being given to you yet. Managing the hospital to appeal to the patients is a bit more complicated, but also just basic needs really. They like to sit on benches when they wait, they like to drink Kit Kats and not be either freezing cold or boiling hot. They also like the hospital to be designed well, but like most people can't convey to you how something could have been done better, but still feel like it could have been done better. The patients themselves suffer from all sorts of hilarious diseases, from the squits, which you can contract by eating pizza you found out of the cooker, to the famous bloaty head, which you can get by drinking unpurified rainwater, and then extreme radiation poisoning, which you can get by playing Fallout 3. The long road to repair for the poor patient starts at the reception desk, and then on to the GP's office, and then to whatever diagnosis room they require, and then onto the cure room, and then right back to their home so they can come back and do it again sometime. For many, this really is simple, but as the game goes on, you need more and more complicated machinery and diagnoses tools that reveal the secret reason why this poor patient is wearing a cast on their foot. My mind races with the possibilities. Sometimes you won't have enough diagnosis tools to properly diagnose some issue a patient has, and then you will be called to deal with this personally. This is just playing God, but with more touch-tone buttons. What bugged me about these was when they weren't sure what was wrong with the patient, you could only choose between sending them home, taking a chance, or getting them to wait while you build more rooms, but when you knew what the problem was but didn't have enough staff to cure them, you can just send them straight to the research department while they'll enter the auto-autopsy machine and be killed. I can't help but feel that's a tad extreme. The research department is of course where all the research gets done by some researchers and a lot of tea and biscuits. They develop no rooms, enhanced machinery, drug improvements, and you can manage all of this on their research screen. Being able to cure patients is of course a very good thing for a hospital to be able to do, and winning the level is based around your proficiency to do so, whilst making as much money as possible and also having a decent reputation. The board of shady hospital directors have you jump through various hoops to complete the levels with things like hospital worth and patients cured, and you can see all of that in the status screen. But the actual accomplishing of these goals can be hard. If you generally do a decent job of organizing, hiring the right staff, making rooms the right size, and keeping the staff happy, then the goals tend to accomplish themselves, at least for the early levels. You can accept invitations from famous footballers and the King of the Netherlands to walk around your hospital and gawp into unfinished rooms for some money and reputation boosts. You can accept emergencies to quickly gain some cash as long as you can save them all in time, and if things start to look desperate you can take out a loan, as long as you pay it back. But as the game goes on, so does the exquisite layer of cow dung that spreads itself across your hospital like the chocolate layer on a cake. There is an overwhelming number of things the game can do to stitch you up. It starts off with earthquakes that I mentioned earlier. Basically, after level 4 or so, every hospital you're asked to manage is located along the San Andreas Fault, and earthquakes are more common than rain in England. They lead to the destruction of your machines and really test how well you're managing your handymen. There's staff resignations, of course, and the game just deciding not to give you any useful people to hire after the first year, meaning if you didn't get all the staff you needed to run the hospital, or train new staff, then you pretty much never will. Rats can infest your hospital and you can shoot them with your mouse cursor. This is highly unsanitary, cruel, and affects your reputation, but it is pretty fun. And then there's Epidemics, the scourge of the PC version. An epidemic is the most dreaded of all things you have to deal with. Basically, you're given an ultimatum. An epidemic has been found in your hospital. And you can either pay a fine or try and cure the disease before the health inspector arrives. Trying to be sneaky in curing the disease is only as difficult as the disease is popular. You have to click on each person to vaccinate them, or send them home or cure them. And if you try to hide an early game disease that's cured at the pharmacy, like sleeping illness, then you have pretty much doomed yourself. There is no way to vaccinate all the people in your hospital before the health inspector arrives and finds you. The amount of time the health inspector arrives in seems to be randomized, with them sometimes turning up well after the infected have left the hospital, and other times they turn up moments after you start being sneaky. However, if you choose to hide something that people barely ever get, like broken heart, then it's free money, since you can just send that one person home and the health inspector will reward you with money since some sicko said you had an epidemic here, but all he found was a bunch of sick people. But what really brings the piss to a boil is how all of these things happen one after the other, like a Harlem Globetrotters slam dunk compilation, with earthquakes, epidemics, and doctors being divas coming at you rapid fire. You can turn the game speed down to try and accommodate, but this really doesn't help much. The PC version also has a bunch of strange glitches in my experience, with patients standing around complaining that I don't have a psychiatrist, when I have a psychiatrist and a psychiatry room. They just kind of refuse to acknowledge. This negatively impacts reputation since they keep on leaving because apparently I can't treat them, even though I have a room. Too many deaths, too little reputation, and being poor are surefire ways to end the level in failure. A nice little cutscene plays, and you're back at the game menu. All that suffering for now. The PC version does get significantly harder as the game goes on, but what about the PlayStation version? Ah yes, I bet you were wondering when we would talk about the PlayStation version. To call the PlayStation version of the game a poor man's PC version is really like comparing a fighter jet to a paper aeroplane. The graphics are, well, it has some. The frame rate is a number that starts below 20 and dips lower at your convenience. The game has no music, no extra items in rooms, no epidemics, no auto-autopsy machine, no mouse support for a console that had a mouse, no analog support for a controller that had analog sticks. There is so much stutter that if you move the screen too fast, it looks like you're experiencing an earthquake, and to save on memory space, they removed racially diverse doctors. That's right, no black doctors in the PlayStation version. Racists. But if you want to play Theme Hospital on the go, you can play it on your PSP if you're stuck in 2003 like I am. The PlayStation version is really easy because you never have to deal with epidemics, which alone makes the latter levels more of an endurance test. Just keep putting in handymen to deal with the earthquakes and you're pretty much done. So I know what you're thinking, it sounds like an ordeal. Where is the fun in this game? Well, you don't really have to look very hard for it. It's called intrinsic neuron activation. Basically, it feels good to do good. When things run smoothly, your brain releases a steady number of endorphins. The do good endorphin. It's like creating a really well-oiled machine, the kind of satisfaction you can only get from something just doing really well. Theme Hospital manages to trigger the neurons in the brain that allow you to watch them swarm like an ant colony and feel a sense of pride that you're allowing this to happen. At least before they all die in an earthquake. And that's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back hopefully sometime soon with another review of a game you probably already played, and watch this to confirm your own feelings on it. Thank you and good night.